The first big game sees the Seattle Seahawks heading up to Cleveland, over to Cleveland. What's further north?
I think
I feel like over.
Seattle.
I feel like over is probably
It's just over. Yeah.
to Cleveland to take on the best team in Ohio.
Second best, I think, actually, right now.
I think they're better than the Bengals. The Browns. Paul?
I was talking about Ohio State.
There's been years where Ohio State low key would have given the Browns a game.
Yeah.
Like low key.
Yeah.
Paul, the line on this game is, I believe, Seahawks -2. Pretty sure that's the line. So if you're, but like we don't care too much of that. Seahawks -1.5.
Yeah.
But we're not all in on the lines here. We're more talking about the game as a whole. So Paul, Monday night didn't go well for the Browns, obviously. A lot of the reason was due to the 49ers defensive line. So talk me off the cliff if I'm a Browns fan as to why my specifically offensive line is going to look better against Clowney and the boys in Seattle.
Yeah. I feel like we've been at the talking off the edge of a cliff for Cleveland Browns fan for a while here now. But it's tough. I mean, this week their line isn't great. They're facing a Jadeveon Clowney who's proving the league wrong right now. Having a bit of a career year up in Seattle, going really hard. The Seattle defense is always good because they're coached by Pete Carroll, who's just a defensive genius, and they're going to be strong no matter what. So, personally, I have Seattle coming out big with a win in this game. I can't really imagine Cleveland beating them this week just because of Cleveland's past performances. Cleveland's been so inconsistent this year, and Seattle's just been a little bit more consistent on them from early in the season. They've kind of figured it out, and against LA last week, they put on a show, and I expect Russell Wilson to continue that in Cleveland. But I don't know. What are you thinking?
On paper, this is a terrible matchup for the Browns. Mainly because the Seahawks are 4th overall in rushing yards allowed per game, basically meaning they're the 4th hardest team in the NFL to run the ball against, which is not a good sign, especially when the Browns are 29th in that category against a team that's going to try and run the ball in them all game.
Yeah.
So the key to this game is unquestionably the Browns cannot fall behind because once you take away the element of trickery against Pete Carroll's defense, that's a huge issue for a young quarterback like Baker. So they have to be able to get out to a lead early and be able to establish their running game, because otherwise, against a really good running defense to begin with, they're in trouble, because as we've seen all season, Baker really struggles to just drop back and throw the ball right now.
Yeah.
And if they can't establish that running game and give Baker that play action option where he can hit Odell over the top, hit Jarvis, do all those things that make the Browns offense look really good that he was able to do against Baltimore when they were running the ball, this team is going to be in a lot of trouble early and often against a really good Seahawks team. The thing is, though, this is such a classic Cleveland win just because, well, a lot like the Ravens game, that Ravens game seemed like an obvious Browns loss. And all of a sudden, the Browns came out with a huge win. The thing is, though, with that game is I think that game was more an indictment on the Ravens and a comment on how good the Browns are, which is why I'm leaning Seattle in this game. Even though Seattle is also, it's funny because seems like an obvious Browns win that no one expects, and also such a textbook Seattle terrible game where everything goes wrong when everyone thinks they're going to win.
Yeah.
However, the difference I think between this Seahawks team and previous ones the last 3 or 4 years since the Legion of Boom was at its peak is their division is so good that they can't afford to lose a stupid game. And this is such a winnable game for them that even though it's a tough game by a lot of measures, obviously, because of how much talent the Browns have, I highly doubt Pete Carroll or anyone in that Seattle Seahawks room is going to take this game lightly.
Mm-hmm.
With all at stake, with an undefeated 49ers team. And let's be honest here, with the 49ers and Rams playing this week, if the Rams win that game and go to 4-2, all of a sudden that huge Thursday night win is basically negated because you're the same. And if the Niners win that game, you're 4-2 and they're 4-0 or 5-0. So
Yeah.
this is a really big game for the Browns.
Yep.
But I think we covered that pretty good. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
kind of looked at it from both sides. There's a lot going into this game. This is a really interesting game for both teams. I think we're going to learn a lot about both. Because right now, Seattle, at least in my tier rankings, I have them as a tier 2 team. In the NFC, I haven't quite seen enough to put them in that tier 1 with the Packers and Saints. But if they go out and win this game and beat up on the Browns, I think there's no way you can keep them out of tier 1. So
yeah,
we'll see if Seattle is a high level division winner this year or a conference threat. I think this is one of those games. It's a benchmark game. And same goes for the Browns. I mean, 2-4. Can't go 2-4 is not a good situation.
Yeah.
So huge game for both teams.